A dryer. I'm good with a dryer.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. So calling the meeting to order. And very first thing I want to do is get approval of the minutes, and then we'll do introductions. Any further discussion? Questions, comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, got that. All right, and we'll let our police and fire go make their reports so that they can get back to their important duties. So, police first. We'll let police go first.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Just a few different things. With the Wichita Police Department right now, we have had we've had a lot more larcenies than we have normal, just a lot of it because a lot of people want to leave their car doors open. So we're asking you to make sure that you're doing the best that you can to lock your doors and lock everything up. Shut your garage doors at night because it's a crime of opportunity when somebody steals stuff like that because the stuff is out there for them. And so then we think that there's crime that's going on in this area so much, and we send officers over there and we do all these special assignments when it was just, well, we had about 9 people just leave their car doors open, that was all. Because everybody who haven't locked, they don't break into. So we're asking that everybody just kind of pay attention to that and just start locking your doors. Make sure your garage doors are shut at night. That'll help us out a ton. The other thing, 2 of the calls that we're dealing with right now, which is a lot, is gonna be leaving kids in cars and animals in cars. Please take your kids and your animals out of your car whenever you park it. I know that you may think that it's not very hot in there, or you're just gonna be gone for a second, but I've already dealt with 2 baby calls this week where we've had to get kids out of the car. One of them, we ended up having to bust the window because we didn't have a choice. And I can tell you that once we broke the window, it was the parents who were upset with us because we were trying to save a life. So if you see something, say something, call it in, let us know where it's going on, and we'll get there as fast as we can and try to help save a life. But other than that, do we have any questions? By the way, I'm sorry, I'm Officer Williams from West Side. 15 feet out west. So, okay, here we go.
Officer,
Yes.
is it true that it's not, that a civilian, if they see a baby or a pet in a car, that they can break the window if they can't get a hold of the owner?
If it's an emergency, I would say please do. If it's one of those where you're coming up and the baby's been in there and the baby's struggling and everything else, and you call and you're on the phone with dispatch and you're given all the symptoms of what's going on, they should be telling you go ahead and breach.
Okay.
I'm not just gonna say you just run up there with a rock and just,
No.
just chuck it this way when you see the dog in there. I'm not saying that.
But be
you
in
let
touch
them-
with dispatch.
But you let them get in touch with dispatch, tell them exactly what you're seeing. If they see distress or anything like that from what you're telling them, then they'll go ahead and give you instruction from there. Otherwise, we'll be there in hopefully 2 minutes.
I was hoping for that permission.
You know what?
Okay, I get it.
I can tell you that we've had citizens do it before, and they've taken the law into their own hands, and I haven't heard anywhere about where those cases actually go when the citizens actually do it. But it's pretty hard sitting there watching a child struggle and they're sitting there just burning up in a car, and the parent doesn't want you to break a window because it's too much money. You know, that's the part of everything that we see. So I think this week I had 2 of them, or last week I had 2 of them. One of them we were able to get a hold of another jurisdiction to come in with their locking, their unlock skills to be able to unlock the car because we don't have them here in Wichita. And then the other one we had to go ahead and bust out a window because we didn't have a choice. So if you see that stuff going on, please let us know because sometimes you only have minutes.
Other questions for Officer Williams?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and Officer Carlson's here.
Friday, yeah. Squidall couldn't make it here, so usually I'll fill in for him on these. I'm Officer Carlson, Wichita Police, Patrol South Community Policing out of the South Bureau at 21B, which is known as the Old Town and Arena area. Not a lot of statistics to report for you, some updates. We've been working on a trial program for blocking off different streets and stuff in Old Town for about, that's coming up on 3 years. It's a program that we started when, we call it traffic safety measures, something along the lines of that. But basically, we block off specific areas in Old Town to allow for better pedestrian walk, safer pedestrian walk, so that way we don't have cars, alcohol, and and people kind of get in the mix. It worked out very well. We knew in the first month that it would be phenomenal program. So what we have been doing on Friday and Saturday nights down there, we have been down there with Greg and cones. Cones get dropped off by Public Works on a Friday, and then they get picked up on a Monday. So we have cones sitting down in Old Town. Shocker. So what we did this plan, and then we kind of shopped a couple vendors as far as cost goes. Get some type of more of a permanent basing and barricades in there. There was a specific place that created specific stuff for specific blockades, basically gates. Instead of the swing style gate, if you're down there, you'll see right now we've been trying for about a month and a half, 2 months. By the restrooms, the 100 block of Mosley, we have these gates. They kind of look like railroad crossing styles. They're made of the same material that streets and street signs and stuff are made out of, that very heavy duty steel. There was a microburst that did come down through Old Town and knocked out a tree that had a 2.5 foot, 3 foot base to it. That microburst knocked that out, a bunch of leaves or anything else, and those things just stood there like. So we knew right then they'd be successful. So in the next couple of weeks, we plan to finish the south side of Old Town. There is one more approval meeting that we have to make sure that we can get these gates are good, they're blessed, and we go forward with them. We'll hit everything south of the First Street, and then because there is construction in the roadway on 2nd Street through Old Town, then we'll wait to get those put in on that portion up there. I think there's 23 gates altogether that are going in place, but it's been phenomenal as far as eliminating cruising, because not just people driving through Old Town was a big issue. It was people that would constantly drive through and cause arguments and disturbances with people that would be sitting on a patio or trying to enjoy themselves. Good thing we can do about these is we can drop these gates about any time if we need to, and then cover up from there. So the gates have been a phenomenal thing. Other than that, call load for I think everybody in the city is crazy. Call load, sometimes you'll see up to anywhere from 20 to 30 calls, 20 to 40 calls holding, just because everybody's kind of running around crazy, chasing all these things. We can't put enough academy classes together and keep pumping these officers out what we need. Question came up a long time ago when I was in a meeting with Brandon Williams and a citizen group, and they had asked, like, why are we so short on officers? And what I can tell you what I know from what I've seen, I mean, this goes back 10 years ago. Wichita Police historically will bring in a class twice a year. You'll have 2 classes of about 30 every year. And back in 2008, when the economy was kind of whatever, the decisions were made above us that, hey, we're going to cancel these classes. So what happens is you don't have that transition coming in and out. The transition is kind of dead. So just like in 2018, we had about 60 officers either leave or retire. Well, you got those guys going on, and then you start 60 people in 2 different classes throughout the year to come in. There's probably about a 80% success rate, because I mean, some people think, yeah, I want to do this, and then once they see what really goes on, it's kind of chaotic. So as you got 60 going down, and then you got more coming in, and the goal, and I think what I've seen throughout history within our department is that we put off classes, and then all of a sudden they'll start slapping classes out one after another. I came on in 2001, where I think we just started classes about every 3 to 4 months. There's a new class of 25 or more, which got the replenishing amount back up to a safe level. But for the most part, I mean, call loads there, be cautious. Supposedly there's some things that are going to be delayed, and those delays are a lot of times report calls that something did happen, and sometimes it can be a traumatic thing. But we'll get there eventually, because your call, say that you call in and you say, I got this theft report that on something that occurred sometime overnight, and officers are chasing active disturbances, active issues right away across the city. Even a lot of times I've never seen it more than now, but we'll have officers flip-flopping bureaus. East side coming to west side, or south side, and whatever else. We have that transition there to kind of just keep balance. But I always make the reports, and the reasoning for being or making those reports is because we live and die on a lot of statistics, the statistics that we need. Statistics we need to know where the crimes are occurring at, how many times it happened. Still helps with the numbers to kind of generate what we have problem areas and how to address them from there. Just like today, I asked dispatch, like today, just seemed to be a crazy first of the month, Monday. And I said, how many suicidal people calls did we have today? And during first shift alone, from 7 to 5, there's 27. So
What?
It's just constant. Wow. Like, you know, and those are obviously not single officer calls or multiple officer calls. I know one they had this morning around Gander Mountain. Well, the guy called in and said that he's basically got a gun and he's gonna end it right there. So we're bringing in those. Luckily, we had troopers out there helping us with that as well. And they can respond in serious situations like that. But he was supposedly at Gander Mountain at the time, but then as time went on, he went back on his residence in the West Bureau. And I think that obviously there's a positive outcome because SWAT didn't come out and we don't hear of any officer involved shootings today. Other than that, it's been pretty good. Things are definitely growing downtown. For those of you who haven't been down there for a while, I can remember years ago, there was a projection of about 2,000 units coming, renovated down there within lofts and apartments and stuff like that. And I think that's superseded beyond that now. There's a lot. The growth is great. Criminally, the statistics down there are great. I mean, so if we go back to around 8-9 years ago, I mean, it was one of the scariest places in the Midwest. The town had a very bad reputation, and we did a lot of law changes and a lot of different enforcement type changes, and that has helped out tremendously. So, any questions?
Questions for Officer Carlson? Anybody on the board?
Were you able to identify the individual who was writing on the glass downtown? He was etching his name in the glass.
There.
Is that Delano?
Okay.
Oh.
So it has to do with these guys that run around, they'll either scratch their name into something. I haven't followed up to find out if they know exactly who that was or photos go out. But a lot of times we'll catch these things. We did have it a point at one time where there was one officer up north that tracked anybody with these signatures that you see all over the place. And then, but we have to actually, knowing, say that it says an initial or a specific sign that says somebody, we know it's this person, we have to catch them in act in order to do something with it, or catch them on video. So we always encourage people to have video. A lot of people, or specifically there's probably 10 people that will put their name on everything around here. I kind of say they're like dogs, they run around like everywhere. But I don't know what it is, but they'll swipe in. We've watched several videos where you'll just see a guy walking in and seem like totally normal, almost dressed like anybody else in this room. Also pop out spray cans or whatever it may be, do their initials things, put it back in there and walk off. We've had citizens that keep their eye on them, that watch them sit there and do their thing right there as we're moving in. And we'll try to catch them as fast and best as we can. But I don't know if they've actually identified that specific person yet. It's usually the protocol on that is find video. That video is so priceless to us. Find video. Off that video, can you identify this person? And then from there, we try to find that person to get their statements.
Any other questions from the board? Anything from the audience? Any questions? Thank you,
Oh,
Officer
and
Carlson.
one last thing real quick. We will be doing heavy enforcement Wednesday night, especially Thursday night. Police and firefighters combined going on hand and $500 tickets.
$250.
$250 tickets. $250 tickets, but still at a room party. There'll be 2 officers paired with the firefighter this year, spread out throughout the town based off things I was involved in it last year. I think we almost got in about 3 fights ourselves because you have drunken parties and big explosives, and they're dangerous. And so because of what happened last year, we had 2 officers with a firefighter to try to properly handle the situation. But easiest thing is, if you buy it here, you can use it here. If you don't do it. Don't do it. Don't lose your fingers. Don't lose your hands. Hopefully you don't die.
In 2nd grade, my aunt's husband brought fireworks from Oklahoma and had them in the trunk of his car, and they freaked out and said, "Hide those." And just as soon as they showed up, I ran over there and I grabbed a cherry bomb.
Yeah.
And I played with that cherry bomb and played with that cherry bomb until the 4th of July. And on the 4th of July, I was going to celebrate, and I damaged the twisted fuse. So when I touched the match to it, it went like that. And it was immediately shooting sparks, and I threw it, and it blew up right here.
What you
Oh, yeah,
That's right.
my grandfather came out, and grabbed my hand and looked at it real good, and that was solid blood blisters in half a year in Wichita.
Yeah, somewhat, so definitely please be careful, do not do that. If you see the, you had watched the news the other night, they had a mortar across somebody's yard into another in front of kids and stuff like that. I'm sorry, but that's just stupid.
I'm hoping that you'll have fewer cases to,
I
since
hope so.
last year
I
was
just
the
kinda
first
felt
year.
like that and say, I hope so. I mean, we're definitely, last year there was a little combination of thought process of like, people are trying to celebrate, but then the stupidity just comes out. It's, come on. You wanna shoot that stuff off, go where it's flag from. But keep people safe either way, even if they don't want to.
Thank you for enforcing it.
And then the breaking the window thing, you gotta be on the phone with dispatch to break a window.
Okay,
Just-
that's
just-
good to know.
Just for clarification on the
Right.
legalities of that. It falls underneath the protection of yourself and or others, you have the right to do that by any time, so.
All right. Thank you, Officer Carlson and Officer Williams. All right, fire, Benfield.
Everybody, I'm Captain Joe Filson, I've seen you here before, kind of do these all the time. From Station 3, District 6, I'm actually a resident in the area, so, longtime resident actually, so, I'm kind of with you, if it hurts. I want to elaborate first, while it's fresh with the police officers. The fire department has a very respected timetable. If you call dispatch, once dispatch dispatches us, you can expect us in a 3.5 minutes. Okay, so if you see a child, or you see a dog or something, you're on dispatch, you start calling, you can expect us to be in there in that timetable. We don't mess around, we'll get there, and we don't have a problem breaking windows. But like the 2 children that he pulled out, they actually were on scene when that happened. Otherwise, fire is the first one to get on scene, on a normal basis, The second thing I wanted to elaborate on him was, the fire, and this is quite elaboration. We hired, and they had also hired, we hired, extra people this year, from our ranks to go out and specifically target. I don't know if anybody realizes that, but they're actually specifically targeting, meaning they're going out to find these spots. We've had this conversation, I don't know if it was this year or last year, I remember being up here and talking in front of the board, about this. I think we're doing a really good job about slowly implementing the law enforcement of it. It is absolutely, it is almost unenforceable, this law. But as we get public cooperation and we get more information out there, and I believe the last 2 years we've been seeing more and more, especially on public networks and getting the information out there, we're not seeing as much, especially in our area here, as much as we have in the past. And I'm optimistic this year. We actually start our patrol tonight. And it's a long, drawn-out process for us because we're in that fire engine patrolling till midnight on a minimum. It's not fun, and it's the worst thing in the world. I've got a great story of one of my guys. I wasn't working. I always try to take 4th of July off. You don't know why. But they actually had to go and actually pull fireworks from tiny children's hands that don't understand their parents' laws. And so, but each year we've got better and better, and this year the fire department gave me a clear directive. We actually had the FIU, Fire Investigative Unit, come out to me today directly, hand me the citations and give me clear what's gonna be happening, what's gonna do, what you're gonna write a ticket for. It is so prevalent. Some of these guys are shooting fireworks in my backyard at my firehouse. And it's almost unenforceable. This year, it is. This year, there will be no problem going over and writing a ticket. Now, just to give you an example, how hard it is for the fire department to give a ticket is if you're not within a car or you're in somebody's yard and you're shooting fireworks, I come up, I see you shoot that firework. I have to hold you personally accountable for the holding it. I'm gonna need to write you a ticket. What if you refuse to write me a ticket or tell me your name? Is it criminal? What am I? I'm a fire officer. So I have to call police, okay? The timetable that it comes in that period, it's almost unmanageable. Those guys are chasing calls all over the city. You heard how short they are. So it's all about public relations. That's the first thing. Prevention, I swear, the reason why we even let fireworks be sold in this city, I don't know why. I don't care if they're that big or this big. It should just be a zero tolerance if we want to abate this. If not, we need to really seriously reconsider the whole thing. That's my spiel. And then we'll go back a couple of months because I want everybody to understand some of the fire calls we've had in the area. We've had, last month we had 3 major fires. Actually, there should be 4 fires. I don't see the one we have on here on North Rock, but we had 650 total incidents, with 22 of those being fire alarms in May, which is pretty good. We've done really good because the previous month before that was 37 fire alarms with 667 incidents. The other incidents are service alarms or medical alarms. You guys realize we go to every medical there is. In our districts here, 325 West 21st, North Mount Carmel was $35,000 damage. Pretty much an all loss at 52 or 5522 West 9th. And that was actually debris from spent fireworks. So that's about it for me. If you have any questions, I can answer as specifically as I can.
Questions from the board? Okay, fire. Any questions from the audience?
Well, I thank you very much, and my brothers in blue there, I highly understand their situation, and we benefit from them, and we also suffer from them, from their causes. If a fire alarm or medical alarm, fire alarm, there are many times we're standing off for 10, 15 minutes for medical. Because the call comes in, it's generated by call 911, and the poor dispatchers are people picking up this phone call and getting a despondent person home. So they have to really decipher what's going on here, and then they plug it in the computer and send it to us. We're so much faster than PD just because of our nature. We're waiting to pounce, that's what we do. They're moving like all the time. They never sit down. So when a call gets called like that and it's generated, we actually sit on site, and I have been seeing longer and longer and longer wait times. As simple as a car wreck. You obviously have all been in an auto accident maybe, or hopefully you haven't. But most of the time, 95% of the time, you're gonna need a police officer on that scene to take an officer account. Well, we are legally bound to stay on that site. Now you're just taking a fire engine and 4 guys out of a first responding situation. If I choose to, I will go. But you're taking us off the floor waiting for a PD to take a report. So it's very important. I saw something just the other day. We had a citywide vote to, how to allocate funds for monies, and I was really very pleased, and I'm sure the PD were, that the city services for fire and police, everybody wished for more. And I think the reason is not so much for fire, because fire is, we have the Holy Ghost. Everybody thinks that everything's going to get fixed when we're coming, but PD is the silent brothers that just never get the honor they need. It's a tough gig, and so I like working with them. Just want you to know that I'm with them. So that's our spiel, and I thank you very much for letting me talk to you guys today.
Thanks, Captain.
Yep.
A couple things Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, and
Appreciate
sorry
it.
I'm late, I'm actually from the call right now, so.
Okay, all right. There is a non-emergency number to call July 1st through July 6th. It's 290-1011. So if you have, that's for fireworks, so if you believe someone is shooting fireworks illegal, it's 290-1011. And both the police and fire talked tonight about the enforcement of fireworks this year, and so what the fire department and the police department did was looked at data from last year to figure out how to better enforce the ordinance. And so, as Captain Benefield said, it's going to be really targeted. They know where the hot spots are in the city, and they'll be targeted in those areas. And they will have each patrol will have 1 fire officer and 2 police officers. Last year, they had some issues with, as they said, fire department. Those officers, they're not law enforcement, so they didn't know how to handle that sometimes. So it was better to have 2 law enforcement and 1 fire officer. So let's go around and everybody introduce yourselves on the DAB, who you are and what neighborhood you represent. So we'll start with Linda.
Linda Matthew, Logan City Park neighborhood.
James Decker, North Riverside neighborhood.
Lorenzo Snyder, Benjamin Hills in Pleasant Valley.
My name is Denise O'Leary Seymour. I'm from Indian Hills, Riverbend.
Matt Brown from the Orchard Park neighborhood.
I'm Brandon Finley. I'm your community service representative for District 6.
Go ahead.
Joel Weiss, Sherwood Glen.
Sean Rojas, Indian Hills, Riverbend.
Gregory Boyaki, Logan City Park.
And I'm Cindy Claycomb. I'm the city council member for District 6. I have a few new faces in the audience, so I just want to take a minute to explain how this works. So this is the District Advisory Board. This board is advisory to City Council, so they advise me. Their recommendations are for that. I don't vote at this meeting, just the advisory board members vote. And if after we hear each case tonight, I'll bring it to the board for their questions and comments, and then we'll take it out to the audience. If you want to make comments on that, we allow people to come forward and make comments or ask questions on the cases, and then we bring it back to the board for a vote if it is something that needs a vote. Again, I don't vote. I just listen. I might ask questions, but I'm not part of the vote tonight. So our next part of our agenda is public agenda. So is there anybody here tonight who wants to speak on something that is not on our regular agenda? Anybody here to speak? Okay, Alan. So when you, if you speak tonight, if you'll please stand and come up front and state your name and address. And
No, we're not doing that.
oh, just name?
Just name.
Just name,
Just
not
your name.
address, because we are on Facebook Live these days, so just your name. So, Alan, if you'd like to speak.
My name is Alan Trineri. I live over on Burns Street, Brooklyn and Burns. I'm a little disturbed about the air conditioner being broken at the Secret Sugar Skull Shack when Mr. Snyder being involved with this cell phone tower guy. I just want to growl a little bit about that. I want to thank you all for your services. I wish that I could be more involved. I'm a at-large officer of the North Riverside community. Meet there at the church. I pick up trash. Well, you're my greatest wish that all you would do, tie your plastic bags in knots. Don't just let them go so they don't fly away. And let them even think appreciate you.
Thanks, Alan. All right, anybody else here for something that's not on the agenda? All right. Okay, so our first new business is public briefing on Delano neighborhood plan. So I think Stephen Banks is going to.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Banks. I'm with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. So the slideshow running here quickly. brief presentation on the Delano Neighborhood Plan 2019, which is an update of what was done in 2001. In 2017, Mayor Longwell had made some announcements and got together with some of the Delano people, and it was kind of decided that there had been a lot of things done in Delano with the 2001 plan, and but there was a need to address some other issues. And as the prospect for the ballpark came up with the A1 lead coming to Wichita, that became even more important. We're saying that Delano is envisioned as a vibrant, historic, pedestrian-oriented urban district that offers diverse shopping, dining, entertainment, and residential opportunities to residents, visitors, and the broader community. The plan contains 11 land use recommendations that are grouped in short-term, medium-term, and long-term implementation periods, and the plan will act as a guide for improvements and evaluating development opportunities in Delano for the next 15 years, including the ballpark village. I'll go more into the design of the ballpark village, but it is a short-term project, actually underway right now. McLean Boulevard is also in the short term, changing it from a 4-lane arterial to a 2-lane street with event areas that can be closed off for events. The River Plaza area is an entry area off of McLean Boulevard to the ballpark, and a gathering space where the proposed pedestrian bridge would link the ballpark village to the Century 2 area. And then there's a multi-use path just north of Douglas that would have hike and bike features and other amenities along there. Also in the short-term strategies is a parking plan, and then developing a future land use strategy with the future land use map, plan for rezoning the commercial properties along Douglas Avenue between Vine and McLean to Central Business District, amending the Delano overlay, and an update to the Delano neighborhood plan guidelines. In the midterm, we're looking at West Douglas streetscape improvements. These would basically be from Seneca to Vine Street, carrying on some of the improvements that have been done in the area from the clock tower over to Seneca. And then installing neighborhood markers that would include wayfinding elements. Another midterm goal is taking care of housing conditions through better code enforcement, and then the pedestrian bridge that would link the ballpark village to the Century 2 area. In terms of long-term recommendations, there's basically just one main one, which is the Handley corridor. The idea is to link the Handley Street with McLean Boulevard, with the possibility of doing a pedestrian bridge to the Keeper of the Plains, and improving the network with the railroad trail and the Texas Street improvements in the ballpark village. As part of the Delano neighborhood plan, there is a ballpark village master plan, which the ballpark village is to become a signature destination for Wichita, which will benefit the city and region as an economic stimulus, inviting preserving use of existing and new businesses and real estate development. It will celebrate and enhance the unique sense of place present along the Arkansas River in the heart of Wichita. The site, if you see the red line here, this encompasses the entirety of the Ballpark Village Master Plan area. You'll see two areas in yellow. These are private lands that until recently have been owned by the church over here. And then 2 blocks over to the west of the new ballpark facility. The rest of this area within here are public lands that are being developed in this, and it will be part of the PUD plan that we'll talk about just a little bit. The programming in the Ballpark Village Master Plan specifies building types in order to satisfy Strabon's requirements, the commercial square footage that has to be in place in order to be in compliance with the Strabons, as well as preserving view corridors and overall site development. You have the stadium area here. You have commercial activity along here, and most of these structures, and then office and residential in these. Sorry about that. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, the pink is the stadium. The blue is the office and residential, and then the rest is commercial space. There's been parking studies done in developing this plan and trying to anticipate the needs for the new ballpark. There are a number of places within downtown that have parking and nearby. But we realize it's not going to answer all of it. There is some proposed parking around the perimeter of the new stadium. The plan calls for parking within this area, which is mostly the private development portion. And then there's talk about doing parking on the west side of the stadium in this 2-block area, and even the possibility of doing some more parking at the ice center at this point. All of that is kind of in flux in discussions right now. Part of the plan talks about preserving view corridors. You have the corridor from the clock tower at Douglas looking southeast to the ballpark. That needs to be maintained open and visible as a cue to pedestrians and those looking for the park and making a connection to the Douglas area. Also, from the stadium, preserving view corridors to the downtown area, Century 2, the Hyatt, etc. So there are restrictions on building heights as well as building size and spacing between buildings in order to preserve corridors along the plain as well, keeping an open river view along a plain and not having buildings so long that you lose sight of the river as you walk in or drive or attend events in there. There are specific controls for different elements of the ballpark village. These controls are for streets and pedestrian areas and treatment of service entries to buildings and parking, all with the intent of making this a pedestrian-friendly and vibrant area for activities and enhancing the ballpark village as a unique destination place. The timeline going forward, tonight we're doing the meetings both here at 6 as well as at 4. This will go to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission on July 11th, with the hopes of setting it to City Council on August 13th, and to the County Commission on September 4th. County Commission, because will become an element of the Wichita and Sedgwick County Comprehensive Plan, they also have to give their approval as well. So, any questions?
Is the plan to Wichita places for people being considered?
That has been approved by the council and the county commission. It is a broad overview plan at this point. We are going to be working on implementation, but a lot of what was envisioned in places for people are things that are already taking place here in Delano. And Delano, I think, in some cases, become a model for what we want to do with other elements, including zoning code updates and so forth, to try to bring that kind of feel back to specific areas or redevelopment areas within the established central area.
Other questions from the board?
Is there a possibility for park and ride or something like that? One thing that concerns me just a little bit is people going to the ball game, parking on business lots around there that clog them up for customers.
Yeah, Wichita Transit has actually been involved a lot with this in terms of trying to come up with a way to get people to and from the ballpark using other parking garages in the area. And there's even talk of developing an app that when you purchase a ticket, you would be able to find out where parking is available. Those lots that are either public or private lots that will allow because maybe they're not open at that time. So there are things being done to try to address that kind of.
Other questions from the board at this time? Okay, questions from the audience? Nothing else?
I'd have to say I'm pleased with how Delano works. We don't down around there, it's not bad.
Thanks, Alan. All right, I'll bring it
The
up.
no.
whole thing with
Okay, if you're gonna make a comment, can you stand up and please?
just real quick,
Okay,
the building's being built. By the time we get from where there's nothing there now until we have, the parking's gonna be figured out. I'm confident. Something to be added. I feel very confident this project is gonna be good for Wichita.
thank you. Justin, can you stand, please?
Diana Pallins, and I live on the east side, but I volunteer in the Delano area. I guess I'm just still confused. A month ago, I thought we were understanding that there was serious consideration of a parking structure. And then the headlines in the newspaper, I keep opening the newspaper and saying, oh, that's not what I thought I heard.
Right.
So what's the status of parking structure, or how committed are we to enough parking?
Yeah. Stephen, do you wanna address that or you want me to? I'll let you.
Either way, it is in flux. They're working with the franchise team right now to come to an agreement. There is also an effort right now to try to obtain a grant from the Federal Transit Administration in order to do a multimodal facility serving the area, and there's talk about having electric charging and place for renting bicycles and maybe the scooters and that kind of thing. Long and short of that, though, is getting a project like this approved by the FTA, first round, first cut at it, maybe not real likely.
But that is
We
the,
may have to resubmit,
Yeah.
but keep the process going.
but that is the parking structure that, you were at the Delano Advisory meeting, weren't you? Yeah, where they talked about it. And were you at the one last week also?
No.
Okay, so, city manager, I wasn't there either, but city manager Layton explained just what Stephen said, and then they, so the plan is to apply for that grant and to, if we get that, to build this multimodal structure, either, and we're looking at the ice center, or perhaps at that land at Sycamore between Texas and Burton.
And if we don't get a grant,
Then we'll.
wait around.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not the only thing we're working on, so as Stephen pointed out, there's a lot of parking, there's, 5,000 parking spaces within a half mile of that, not all just in, those aren't just the ones on Douglas Street for the businesses, and as Linda pointed out, the park and ride, so really designated places where people can park, and transit will, transport them to the baseball stadium. That's been very popular with the arena, so.
The Lawrence Dumont parking lot used to be the park and ride location, I mean, that
Right,
we're
but we-
parking there, so now it's.
Yeah, we have lots of parking lots to do park and rides from, so I wouldn't be
Okay.
concerned about that,
Okay.
just because one's gone. So,
Okay.
good questions, though.
And if the grant fails, we'll learn what we need to do to resubmit.
Yeah.
It'll be one of those processes.
Yeah, that's it, we do. Any other questions or comments from the audience? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board. I think what we're looking for here is a recommendation for approval. Okay, so if,
MAPC passed.
yeah, so it'll go to MAPC next week on the 11th. So, any additional questions for Stephen before we entertain a motion?
Well, I guess I'm a little confused. Okay. To adopt the Delano neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. All right, I would entertain a motion. No, I'd entertain a
We
motion.
got a motion. Got a motion
I need a
first.
motion first.
We've done that once before.
Okay, it's been moved and
I'll second.
seconded by Matt. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you very much. Okay, I think you're back up, Stephen.
The next part of this, or the next item is PUD 2019 number 4. It is to establish, we'll call it a tailored zoning district for the ballpark village master plan within the publicly owned portion of the ballpark village that we had on the map earlier. It's a 24-acre tract literally located north of Sycamore Street and, north of Maple, west of Sycamore, east of Sycamore Street. The applicant is seeking to remove a portion of the Delano overlay in a 10-acre tract that extends into the Arkansas River that was ever intended to be developed, and their intent is to construct a new multi-use sports complex and allow mix of commercial uses on the property adjacent to the complex. This is done in partnership with the AAA minor league baseball team, and the site, as we've already explained, is for the ballpark village master plan. This is the zoning element of the plan. The staff recommends approval of this PUD with the following findings: that the proposed use of the property is not lines so that they have specific rights to those parcels and lots for their property. The property includes a mix of uses and is following the ballpark master plan, and it's intended to become a signature destination for Wichita. The purpose of the PUD is to accommodate the expansion of the uses without the burdens of the existing zoning district, which is primarily limited commercial and general commercial, to provide adequate protections for the neighborhood. So it is tailored to accommodate the things that we want to see in this ballpark village while looking out for the interests of the neighborhood. The 2035 Wichita Future Growth Concept Plan within the Wichita-Federal County Comprehensive Plan identifies this area located as appropriate for residential and employment mix, which this project is, as part of the established central area. The recommended rezoning is consistent with the spirit and intent of the comprehensive plan. And the future land use concept map that is within the plan being approved identifies the area in which the site is located as the ballpark village. The master plan is an appendix to the Delano neighborhood plan and includes detailed recommendations for development within the area of the designated ballpark village. The recommended rezoning is consistent with the spirit and intent of the Delano plan and the ballpark master. So those are the findings in terms of the PUD, and it was asking for the approval for, well, we have with it?
No, we'll do recommendation for approval. Yeah, thanks. Questions from the
I have
board?
a question. Somewhere in there you said that, they could sell off lots or chunks or sections of that to private businesses?
Well, yes. The site for Lawrence Dumont was made up of a bunch of parcels that were never replatted for the ballpark. And so it was kind of a jumble of parcels. In order to do this plan, they wanted specific areas within the plan for commercial and residential development and office space. What they've done is they've carved out an area for the ballpark and the museum. And
To one of your slides.
Yeah,
They call it, yeah, either that one or the one.
actually, this, the out parcels are, there's down here, along here, and then up along, let's see, part of this is, part of this,
That is.
this is, and I think only part of this is, but the church is up here and they own all this.
Scott, you wanna clarify that?
Yeah, so Scott Rigby, Assistant City Manager, is you have all of the parcels south of the Texas Street extension, which you kind of see highlighted in pink. And then that far building over by Texas in Sycamore. The other buildings you see north of Texas are not part of this PUD. That's the church development.
Okay, yeah. The PUD includes this strip of land, but there's only a parcel down here for development. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, by having the separate parcels, it gives them some flexibility in negotiating with other developers in terms of what might happen in terms of ownership. When you see a large shopping center go up, oftentimes nowadays it is not just one parcel. There are sections cut out so that Sears or whoever, because of their
So the city wouldn't own it anymore, somebody would buy it, somebody can go in there and buy a lot,
Which
build a
means that
Chick-fil-A
they go
there,
back
and,
on the tax rolls.
right, and I'm all for that. But that's just to clarify, that somebody can go in there and buy a lot and then do what they want with it.
There's a potential.
So we've already entered into a development agreement for that. So the PUD doesn't,
It doesn't
It
affect
doesn't
that.
address that specifically, it just addresses the zoning component.
right. You're gonna talk any more about that, Scott?
Sure. Yeah, so the city entered into an agreement with the team, who has a development arm. It's approximately 4 acres is the amount of land that they could acquire. And then the idea is they would find tenants, develop, and individuals to develop those specific parcels. So, that's the,
Yeah.
And those 4 acres are east of McLean, right?
it's,
Yeah,
again,
right-
you
right
see the
there by the
purple
river.
properties or buildings south of the Texas
It's
extension.
all in that.
That, and then you go back one more, let's see, you might have a better map for that one right there. So if you see where the P is north of
Yeah.
Texas, you see that building, generally, it's not a perfect alignment, but where you see that surface parking, that's generally a parcel that the team would control. So that's currently surface, have remained surface parking, we anticipate. And then you'll see those little kind of block buildings east of the ballpark, on either side of McLean, south of the Texas alignment. Be for private development opportunities.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott. Any other questions?
Yeah, see, I heard one thing and I was interpreting something else. So the planned unit development is for the whole area that's.
Let me go
if you-
back.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. The planned unit development covers this strip between, that is actually between the river and McLean right now,
Mhm.
as well as the stadium area, and then this portion where that one structure and parking lot are.
And so the land just west of there, how would that staying in the same zoning context that it's already in?
You're talking about this area?
That's private.
Yeah, that's privately held, right now, and it is, there's talk about doing parking there, but right now that's all in private hands, it's not part of this PUD.
Additional questions?
I have 2 questions. What is signature destination? What does signature mean?
Something that is unique and that has a high draw capability to the community, something that is a kind of destination, like if you say you're going to go to Worlds of Fun in Kansas City, you know what that is. We like that, we like the ballpark village to be that kind of a thing for Wichita.
The next question I have on this was, the PUD should, it's on page 4, requirements of the PUD should mitigate detrimental effects on nearby residential property. Are you foreseeing some detrimental effects if this is not put in? Or-
No, but between, this zoning and then the requirements of the ballpark village master plan, the Delano overlay and the Delano neighborhood plan, we're controlling elements and keeping, things out. One thing, for instance, the CBD, classification that is, given for most of these parcels also specifies no sexually oriented businesses and other things that, would, be detrimental to the neighborhood residents.
So that's what that means, so you're not foreseeing detrimental?
No,
Okay.
but we're trying to keep them more.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Okay, I'll take it out to the audience. Anyone here to make comments or questions on the PUD.
James Williams, you mentioned that you're gonna try and keep the integrity of the look and feel of the neighborhood, is what it sounds like. I was just curious, just how you envision if there was a specific building in the neighborhood you're kind of looking at as a guide for some of these, for the ballpark area.
Not a specific building, but looking at building materials, the way windows are placed on a building, the spacing, what you do to treat parking areas or service areas going into buildings like the loading dock and so forth, to maintain the pedestrian character and the general look and feel of Leno neighborhood, which has a lot of great buildings, that sort of thing. I think that like wood structures, not just a smaller portion of the facade for not wanting wood structures.
Anything else? All right, I'll bring it back to the board. So we can take more questions or comments, and then we're looking for a motion to recommend adoption of the PUD zoning. So, any other questions or comments? Yeah, Greg.
I have, so has there actually been an application, and I'm taking that there is, but there is an application for this, and that's where it's going to Metropolitan Planning
Commission. So there's been an application for the PUD,
Yes.
and it looks to me like that's the city of Wichita.
Yes, yeah, the city is actually making the
Okay, any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion?
We'll take, Linda actually motioned
Oh.
before Greg asked a question.
You
so
want a
I'll just-
second?
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that we accept the
To recommend approval, and second from Lorenzo. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you very much, Stephen, appreciate it. Okay. Now, we have another zoning case tonight, and I think Mary Hunt is here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Hunt with the Planning Department. Steve is my colleague. I'm here to talk about the zoning case number 2019, number 21. It is a small lot, about 6,500 square feet. It's in West Wichita. It is, it's west of West Street on 2nd Street. It's 2 blocks. And it houses right now a very tiny little house that is not habitable. It needs to be torn down, and the applicant is asking us to rezone this from SF5 single family to TF3 2-family, so they could build a duplex. And so the area surrounding this is primarily single family if you don't go very far. But as soon as you go to another block, maybe a couple blocks, you've got at least like 12 to 20 duplexes. This is a neighborhood that was, platted back in, I think, was it 1929? Yeah. And at that time, they regularly integrated duplexes with single family throughout the neighborhood. So it's the opinion of staff that this particular request is consistent with what was intended years ago. It's also consistent with our comprehensive plan, and that there really are no negative consequences in allowing this zoning request to go through. So with that, we're asking you to make a recommendation to approve this.
I do have a question.
Go for it.
Have you have any neighbors approach you with any concerns?
No, not one. The only time there's been a comment was when Kathy Morgan, who wrote this report, was out in the neighborhood and someone stopped her and said, well, I wanted to buy that property and build a duplex. She can't do anything about that. So that's the only time we've had no phone calls, no letters, no anything.
I knocked on both sides of the property and no one was home, so I didn't get any opinion of it, but it didn't seem like, you're right in the sense that it meets you see single family and multi-family buildings there.
It's the neighborhood.
It's Woodford Breeze, yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
There's several large elm trees on the property, and they appear to be on the property line, real close to the property line. It didn't seem feasible that those would be able to stay on the property if a duplex was being built. Has there been any conversation, or has there been any input from staff as how to handle the trees that are on the property line with the adjacent houses?
I guess it depends where they are. They have a 20-foot setback off the back as a minimum. So if there's anything on the very back,
Well,
that would be
it's very
protected.
apparent that the trees are on the north and south side of the lot. So the back, can't see to the back, but the back is to the west, and so the front's east. So it appears to me that there may be difficulty. Has there been any conversation, or has staff noted that in any way, how those trees would have to be taken care of in removal?
No, but on the front, they've got a 25-foot setback that's required, and they'll need to meet that requirement. I don't know if that's enough to preserve them, certainly not on the
It's
sides.
not with respect to preserving the trees, it's with respect, it appears that they would have to be removed. And what does that mean to the adjacent property?
Greg, if we could, I believe, are you with the applicant, sir?
Yeah.
If you'd like to explain that, please.
I just wanted to help answer that question, yeah, so the proposed building that we're gonna do, we're gonna build there, will have a 6-foot setback, so those elm trees are coming out. So when we do the demolition, we will be taking those trees out to the side to make sure to accommodate for those 6-foot setbacks to the side.
So that's understood with the property owners both to the north and to the south?
I have not approached them, but all the stuff that's online, I'm sure they'll probably be pleased it's getting cleaned up, but I can go to them and, make sure obviously that that's gonna be okay. So, but as demolition, that was gonna get taken care of, I just wanted to.
And sir, if for the record, would you state your name, please?
Yeah, Kurt Richards with Katie Properties.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Greg? You good? Any other questions? Anything you'd like to add? Anything else?
Just here to answer questions.
Okay.
So.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board. Questions, comments, or motion?
I have a question. What if by slim chance the neighbors say, no, I don't want you to remove that tree? What happens then?
Well, they have the right to contact the planning. They've all been notified of what's happening.
Okay.
So,
And the
that's
trees,
their
The
opportunity.
trees are on
the trees on private property, right? It's,
Pardon me?
the trees on your property.
Yeah, I mean, I really haven't paid that much attention, but yeah, most of them I think is, on our property. And if the tree's actually in between the property, we might just trim it up as long as we can get that 6-foot setback. So anything inside will be taken out, and then everything else, we might just trim up and clean it up, and might not necessarily take it down, so nobody be upset.
Okay, so I understand that the majority of the trees are on your property.
Correct.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Other questions? Comments? Motion? Oh,
I'd like to move that we accept her staff recommendation.
Second.
right, moved and seconded. Any additional discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mary. Thank you. All right. That is all of our zoning cases tonight. Any issues of concerns from the DAB?
The lookout over the river, that is just east of the intersection of McLean, Meridian, and 10th Street. There's swimming, Indian Hill swimming pool,
Mhm.
and to look out over the river, there's a place where you can go and look.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been spray painted,
Oh,
and the work, yeah.
And repeat that, at McLean,
it's Indian Hill Swimming Pool, just
right across from Indian Hill Swimming Pool. Okay.
on the bike path, and there's an overlay. Thank you. Any other issues of concern, neighbors? How about neighborhood reports, anything from anybody?
I do have, our general meetings for, Benjamin Hills and Pleasant Valley have been canceled, the one for, July and the one for August. We're working on a summer event, possibly the night out, or
Yeah.
we're working on an event, so we'll be doing that tomorrow.
Okay. Good deal. Make sure, I think they still have time to sign up for Neighborhood Night Out, do you know?
Yes.
So if your neighborhood is doing something for a Neighborhood Night Out, make sure that you let the city know that, because we make a,
I would have to look it up on the phone that
Yeah.
we're using to Facebook Live, so I'll have to get
We
back to
do,
you on that.
we wouldn't know what all those are, and then your council member is alerted to all those, and I try to make it out to all of those on Neighborhood Night Out. I only get to spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but I try to make it to all of them. All right, any other neighborhood reports? Okay, I have just a couple of things. First of all, I just want to thank the DAB for taking the time to go out and visit sites, zoning sites. I really appreciate that. It makes your job much easier, and it makes sure that you guys ask really good questions. I want to tell you, last week I did a ride-along with the police on the Broadway corridor, so it was very interesting. If you want any details, I'm happy to give those, but it was eye-opening, and it was fun, but it was also give me a great amount of respect, even more respect for our police officers of what they go through every day.
Was the adrenaline pumping?
What's that?
Was the adrenaline pumping at any point?
Yeah, a little bit. So I did from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Thursday night. So
Thursday night.
On a Thursday night.
North Broadway?
North and
13.
south. Yeah, North and South Broadway. So it was pretty interesting. So I can tell you some stories later. Yeah. So, and then let's see, just a couple of zoning cases that you guys voted on. I just want to let you know how those came out. So the zoning case on Hoover Road to allow vehicle storage, that one went through MAPC and City Council for approval. Okay? And then the zoning case, it was on the 3007 West Elm. That was a request from single family to multifamily, or two family, sorry. And again, that one passed 7-0 at council, passed at MAPC also.
And on the one on those.
Hoover Road.
Yes. Were the recommendations or changes, were they accepted?
They were not, so, yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, they were not. I did talk to the planning department, just to understand about that, about landscaping on the inside of their fence.
Yeah.
That seemed odd to me, but Scott Knable told me that that is normal on like that, because what they do is they have to plant trees, and the trees come above the fence and then screen the RVs and things that are in there. So I said, okay.
And it was more from the neighbors concerned that they want to be.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
thank
neighbors
you.
did not file a protest petition. So, and I checked with them, and they said, no, we're not going to.
Okay.
So, yeah. So anyway, those were the two cases. And unless there's anything else, I would entertain a, yeah, Linda?
I would talk to Brandon
Uh-oh.
2 or 3 months ago, and about, he had put a thing out on Facebook about this group that had come across this really trashy area, and they took pictures of it, and then they cleaned it up and got all the stuff out of it and took pictures afterwards. And it was all hot for us to try that, you know, as a team, individually, you know, challenge the other dabs, different, you know, something.
Yeah.
Where we see a hot spot of trash, pick it up. It doesn't take that long. We're out there anyway, you know, when we're walking and stuff like that, take a picture of it. You know, we're trying to bring in the ball team and all kinds of things like this. We want people driving down the street to see a really nice area. And I know Gregory told me a couple of places that were just really trashy along the river. Food for thought.
Yeah.
And that's actually, when we talked about that, and then you brought that up to me, that was actually at the same time that this was actually a online, it's like a social media viral challenge to find a hotspot of illegal dumping or just an area that had a lot of trash in it, and to show a before and after of having cleaned it up. Yeah,
Right.
so.
And it seems like when you see a trashy area, people don't think anything about throwing one more cup,
Yeah.
one more cigarette, one more whatever.
Mhm.
If it's clean, they don't think so much about it. So if we can start getting these areas cleaned up more,
Yeah.
And then we have a request from Mr. Charlie Claycomb not to forget the Riverside Pancake Feed on the 4th of July from 7:30 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Doesn't he have anything better to do?
And and then we also have Lonnie Wright, the most informed citizen in Wichita, is happy with the video and sound feed that we have here. So
All right.
just thought I'd share what's going on Facebook.
That's right.
And he just heard us because then he liked that.
All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. Thank you all. We have a mid-month meeting.
We do have a mid-month meeting, yes.
Okay.
So where are you in charge?